All right, everyone. Well, let's go ahead and get started today. We're thankful and grateful for each one of you taking the time to join us for part of our LiveRez 2014 webinar series. Today's topic is 5 owner acquisition and retention secrets to multiply your inventory. And today, once again, we're thankful for each one of you taking some time out of your lives to meet with us and to hear what we have to say. We know that, especially today, that the topic will be valuable. And we're thankful and grateful to have with us a very special presenter with us who's chosen and been willing to help us out with this, and that is Steve Trover from All-Star Vacation Homes, and he will be joining us from Orlando, Florida today. And I wanted to take just a moment to introduce Steve Trover to you. Steve Trover is the Chief Executive Officer of All-Star Vacation Homes. An entrepreneur, Steve has successfully created and developed 10 different businesses over the past 20 years. Reflecting in his creative side very early in life, Steve worked at Walt Disney World, where for 7 years as a professional freestyler stunt performer in the Main Street Parade, as well as outside competitions and shows. This sport helped in developing his desire to compete against the very best in performance in whatever he's doing. This is revealed daily as he leads All-Star Vacation Homes through tremendous growth levels that it has achieved. Under Steve's leadership, All-Star has become the industry leader in luxury vacation home management and marketing services. Steve has overseen development of management software and platform for All-Star, which evolved into LiveRez, the leading software for vacation home managers, currently utilized by 800 managers across the world. Steve concurrently serves as the Chief Strategy Officer of LiveRez. Steve is the immediate past president of the VRMA, the Vacation Rental Managers Association, where he also has served as the board of directors and on the International Board Association for 5 years. Steve is a member of SCAL International and is vice president of the Central Florida Vacation Rental Managers Association, and is a past board member of the Florida Vacation Rental Managers Association. Most importantly, Steve and his wife Holly live in Celebration, Florida. They have 3 sons, Josh, Luke, and Nathaniel, and a daughter, Chloe. And let me add my personal recommendation and my personal appreciation to someone who I call my friend, someone who is very willing to share and has been a great leader and a mentor in my life. And I'm proud to present to you and introduce to you today's LiveRez Chief Strategy Officer and our presenter for today's webinar, Steve Trover.
Thank you very much, Tyler. I appreciate that. I thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to listen today. Hopefully you'll get some really good stuff out of it to take back and get into work in the business. So I'd like to start out by kind of with first things first. I mean, when you're starting out with something new within the business, you want to set goals. And before you set the goals as it pertains to growing your inventory, I think there's a set of questions you need to ask yourself, and that is, first and foremost, why do you want to grow? A lot of people think that you have to grow or you'll die, right? Well, that's not necessarily true. You can continue to maintain a business in the vacation rental space and grow incrementally, very slowly, organically, and that's fine for a lot of folks. But I think if you're here on the phone today, you have a desire to grow, and I think you need to ask yourself, why is that? Is it to produce more profitability? Is it to grow a better quality of inventory for your customers? Is it to maybe potentially take away some of your older inventory and bring on new inventory? So those are questions you need to ask as you go along the way. Another question that I like to ask, and something that, where I'd ask this today and maybe didn't ask myself in the past when we grew rapidly, was, can the current operation support the growth? So if your goal is to add 20, 30, 40, 50 properties, what does that look like from an operational perspective, from a housekeeping, maintenance, guest services, all of the different components within the business? How much are you going to have to grow that alongside of the growth in properties? Also, how will you measure success? What does success look like? If you set a goal of 20 new properties in 2015, for instance, what is it, just number of properties, or is it the quality? Is it the amount of revenue those properties can produce? Kind of those questions need to be asked as you set your goals. What are your non-negotiables? What are the things that you would say no to when you're considering a property or an owner? Are things like the quality of the property, how well it's furnished, where it's located. A lot of times when we're growing, we stretch ourselves from a distance perspective. We'll manage properties further outside the area than we might have before. So we need to think about how that impacts the company and whether or not we need to draw a line. I know in our company for over a decade, we actually did not manage properties that were further than 2 miles from our main office. And that was a very strategic decision, and this was in the Orlando area, and everything was close to Disney, so it worked well from that perspective. But it also helped us logistically. Now, that required us to say no to a lot of potential properties that were coming at us from further out, and that's a challenging thing for managers to do. So that's something to consider in your non-negotiables. And are you ready to work for it? Growth does not happen just inherently. You got to really work for it. The title of this webinar was the 5 secrets. Well, frankly, there aren't really any secrets per se. Hopefully we give you some things here today that are great takeaways, but at the end of the day, it's just rolling your sleeves up and getting it done. It's hard work that's going to make it happen. I like this quote by Zig Ziglar: "There is no elevator to success, you have to take the stairs." And I think that that is the case here. So if you were coming for the magic button that automatically grows properties, we don't have that today, but I think you'll find some good stuff here as we go through this. So one of the things that we found throughout the last 17 years of growing this business with All-Star is that you may not want everything that comes through the door. And a lot of times I find that management companies tend to, I kind of describe it as jumping over the counter with a contract every time an owner walks in the door of the property. And a lot of times, not only do you maybe not want the property, you may not want the owner. So you need to think through that one and talk through that a little bit more. Just like with LiveRez, and I know most of your LiveRez partners already are considering it, and LiveRez considers what most software providers would call their customers. We call them partners, and that's by design. At All-Star, we do the same thing with our owners. We let our owners know that this is a partnership, and we're developing a long-term relationship with our owners. And there's a few things that we look for in that partnership. Obviously, they're looking to us for a number of things as far as marketing and reservations, accounting, and so on. But we're also looking for things from them. And first and foremost, without a doubt, is that ongoing commitment to property standards. In fact, when we do a presentation for an owner, we point this out right out of the gates, because we want to know if that owner is going to commit to that, because there's going to be a point where they're going to need new carpet, new sofas, and all sorts of things to their home that are outside the normal range of things that we do, and we need to know that they're going to be there to do that. We're also looking for financial strength within an owner. I know back in the real estate boom, we, along with most managers, had some properties come into the program where the owner might have bought it with 100% down, zero down, and no real significant investment of their own in the property. A lot of times they were intending on flipping. Sometimes they got caught. Well, as you may have found and we found, that's not the ideal owner. You really want an owner that has a lot of skin in the game, that's in it for the long haul. You're really looking to create that long-term relationship. So financial strength is something to consider. You're not always going to know that, obviously, as you go into a relationship, but if you see some red flags, a lot of times it's not worth pursuing. Also, a reasonable outlook from the owners. Sometimes when owners come in, their demands are so high out of the gates that the potential for success in the long-term relationship is almost zero. And so identifying that early on and kind of backing away from the counter is probably the best thing you can do in that scenario. One of the things that we also do is we do a market assessment. So I've been asking managers when we do cross-consulting for probably a couple of years now, one of the first things I talk about is ranking your inventory by margin or commission. And in talking to probably over 100 managers in the last year about this, only a handful had ever done it. And I can't recommend this high enough. Taking all of your properties in your inventory, drop them into a spreadsheet, and then rank them 1 to whatever number you currently manage by the one that produces the most to the one that produces the least from a margin perspective or commission perspective. We have a big spreadsheet with a lot of different parameters in it, like that has that piece in there. And what was really interesting early on when we did it, I looked at the very number one producing property, and then I went down to the bottom of the spreadsheet and I said, how many of the bottom producers does it take to get to the top producer? And I will tell you, at that time, it took 15 properties at the bottom to produce the same amount of revenue as the top producing property. Well, that was pretty telling for us as a company. And so as we considered growth and looked at opportunities and where we wanted to take on new properties, that was something that obviously led us to go after those properties that were higher producers, and also made us think maybe we can clear room operationally by maybe not renewing the contracts on some of those that are low producers that just didn't make a lot of sense. One of the things that was also interesting is within those low producers, some of the most challenging owners were there. So not only were they low producing properties, they were very challenging owners, and they were taxing on the staff and the team, and it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to manage them. And so for an example, last year we stopped managing a total of 80 condo units in a resort because it just didn't make sense to do anymore. Now that was a really tough decision. It was about $3 million in revenue, but it was the right decision to make, and it cleared space for us to go and grow. And we added about 7 or 8 properties on the top end of the scale that replaced all the revenue of those 80. So that there's an example where you can go after a different type of product. Now, I'm talking about maybe high-end or higher revenue-producing properties versus others. That's not everybody's business model. Some people prefer to do, all condos and be the condo leader in a market. And so it really comes down to determining, what you want out of the business and what your goal is in the end. But I really do recommend bench ranking properties. Determine how many homes in the market match your inventory and your brand and the quality you want to achieve. So, when you're looking at the market and you're developing a list, you're really looking for those only that you would want in the program. One of the ways that we have developed a list is we go into the tax rolls and we identify homes that have out-of-area zip codes or out-of-area addresses that the owner is an out-of-area owner. That doesn't necessarily mean it is currently a vacation rental, but that at least tells us it's a second home. And so that is a potential target. And we develop a list around that. And then we look really granular down to the property itself and decide, is this a property that we want to target and put into our list as a target list? So before you go to market and go after these properties, you got to be prepared. And you got to be prepared in a number of different ways. And so what we've done is we've put together a printed sales kits with takeaways. We have a really strong presentation. It's a PowerPoint presentation that we do both in person, and we do webinars like this one. We have in-home and in-office materials that we can provide to them when they come in. So sometimes it might be information that goes in each vacation rental home in case it's somebody that's interested in buying real estate, and that would ultimately become something that comes into the program. And then also obviously materials here in the office to help support the sales effort. Lead management, CRM tools. Currently, All-Star uses Salesforce. One of the things that I'm leading within LiveRez is an effort towards producing some of these tools within LiveRez, customer relationship management tools specifically related to growing the business and adding inventory. But in the near term, just having something that you can track the leads with, whether it's a simple spreadsheet or a full customer relationship management software, you have to have something that you can track those leads through. Dusting off the contract. A lot of times when I go into a management company, and frankly, we were no different, kind of started to rectify this, but we realized we have a number of different contracts out there over time, and you develop a management agreement, and every time somebody talks to you, they want to change this, that, or the other, and you end up with variations of your contract. Well, it's a good thing to kind of go back and dust off the contract and make sure that it's the contract that you want them to sign, that all the details are in there. One little piece of advice that I think might work is, we realize that everybody takes their contract to their attorney, and every attorney worth their salt is going to come back with things that they want to change. They just are. And you have the decision to make. You're going to say no or yes. Well, we realized we started carving up our contract and taking away the things that we didn't really care about. Well, we actually realized it's good to leave a few of those in. and that's because you're going to end up negotiating the contract to some extent. So having some giveaways, as we call them, is not a bad thing to have in the contract. That way the attorney, when they come back and they say, we don't like this, well, I'll tell you what, we'll strike that. And it's really something that you didn't really care as much about. It's not really trying to trick anybody. It's just giving them something to take away so that you can leave the stuff that's really important in the contract. So as it pertains to the different types of marketing, one of the things that we've looked at is on the rental side, we don't do a lot of direct mail. We have a direct mail piece that goes out once a year to our entire customer database. We haven't found direct mail to be all that effective otherwise as it pertains to getting rentals. Now, as it pertains to growing inventory, that is not the case. In fact, it very much still works. And in direct mail, one of the things that we've done is developed a postcard campaign, and it's a drip campaign. A drip campaign is defined as basically a number of drops, if you will, a number of mailings that happen. And studies have shown that you really need 7 touch points, 7 times somebody sees your company or your brand before they take action. And so consequently, our drip campaigns are 7 postcards in a row, for instance, and they might be every couple of weeks. The 7th might not be a postcard. It might be a bigger piece that we drop in that is more substantial towards the end. The postcard to the right there with the white glove holding the platter, that house is an actual house that we were targeting. And so we went out, and this is an interesting campaign, and we took pictures of target homes that we wanted in our inventory. As you know, when you get a piece of mail, and a lot of times if it's junk mail, it goes right in the circular file rather quickly. People ignore postcards today in a big way. However, when you get a postcard in the mail and it has a picture of your second home, a lot of times you're going to pay a little bit more attention to it, and we found that to be a very effective way. It's time consuming. You got to go out and you got to shoot pictures of the target homes, but we found it to be very much worthwhile to go out and do that. On a funny note, we did have an owner come into our office quite upset that we were using his house to market to everyone, and he was fine once we explained we were actually just sending it to him. So it does work, and it's one way to do it. But whether you do specific homes or condos or that you're targeting, maybe it's a resort development that you're targeting and you're getting their attention that way because it's within a resort, I'd highly recommend direct mail, and postcards do work. Your website presence is key. Obviously, with the LiveRez website, you have a great website that has a place there for you to talk about your property management offering. I really view the website as lead gen and a place where we don't do a whole lot of describing what we do. We do enough to get them to fill out the form, contact us by email, or call us. We even have live chat there as well. We really want to interact with a potential owner via the phone or in person. And so the website is really just there as kind of brochureware with a call to action to get them to do that. Getting people to the website, just like with the rental side, it takes some work. We do have, as part of our cost per click campaign, property management related keywords. We're on some partner websites. We partner with the real estate industry, other real estate companies. They'll list us from time to time. So those types of things will draw traffic to your website, as well as social media. Social media is another great way to drive traffic to the website from a property management perspective. If you do a cost per click campaign and you're doing property management related keywords, you want to direct them directly to the landing page where your property management information is available. Brand awareness is a key piece. We do a number of different things with regards to signage. I know a lot of you are in markets where you're allowed to have signage on your properties. That obviously is really getting your brand out there within the community for the other owners to see. Billboards is something that we've done in the past, strategically placed. We couldn't put signs in communities here in the Central Florida market. We do it down in Captiva and some in San Diego. But in Orlando, what we chose to do is we actually had trash cans made, and this sounds kind of cheesy, but it was really well done, really nicely designed, embossed. All of our trash cans were embossed with our brand. And so everybody knew every one of our properties. Ironically, a couple of our competitors have followed suit and done the same. But we found that to be an effective way to get the brand out there. Now, I will tell you, when you do that, you want to make sure you pull your trash cans in off the street pretty quickly, because you don't want them out there. But you would want to do that anyways as a good professional manager. Vehicles is probably the number one way that we get our brand out. Here in the Orlando area, we have over 40 vehicles out in the field, and you'll be in a community and see those vehicles out and about. Again, like the trash cans, you want to make sure they're well maintained, well cleaned, well represented, and driven at the proper speed, so that people don't get upset at you. But we get a lot of calls and a lot of people that come in, homeowners interested in, as well as potential buyers, that saw our vehicles out in the field operationally. So that's something that we've invested heavily in, and it works. It's very effective. You don't have to have 40. You can start with one. I know a manager in the mountain region that did that and already found that very effective in a very short period of time. So it's something I would encourage you to do. Sometimes I see a management company throw a logo on a vehicle that is rusted out and beat up, and that may not be the most effective way to get your brand out. So you definitely want to have clean, well-maintained vehicles out there. Referral programs and alliances, an example of that would be the local real estate industry. For the first decade of All-Star's existence, we actually didn't work with outside realtors. In fact, we grew our inventory by selling everything we brought in. So we would sell the property and then bring it into the program. Several years ago, probably right about the time the real estate industry blew up and everything went downhill, we started thinking about maybe a different way to go about it. And as real estate has come back around here in this market, we have partnered with the real estate industry, and we basically, even though we still do have a real estate brokerage in Central Florida, we work with over 150 real estate agents locally, and we take them through a tour of our facilities. We give them a presentation like we would a potential owner. We do open houses in some of our vacation rental properties and educate them on the programs that we offer. And I will tell you that we get a huge amount of leads from the real estate industry now, from local brokers and agents, where before we were their competitor, now we are their partner, and they view us highly and as a great partner for them. And it like anything else that we're talking about today, it takes some time to develop, but it's something that we found very effective in a fairly short period of time. Messaging. So what do they need, and how can you solve it better than anyone else? We call that the me sign here. A lot of times I'll be talking to Tyler about when presenting LiveRez as an example, and I'll say, well, why do I care about what you're saying? And when you're selling something to somebody, you need to think of the me sign on there. What's in it for me? Why do I even care? And so all of your messaging should revolve around that. And there's a number of different things that owners care about as it pertains to marketing. They want to make sure the property is marketed well, maintained well, that your accounting is well done, all those different components. And you want to be able to make sure you're able to message that out clearly. Credibility is a big deal. So length of time in business, if you have, AAA rating or Better Business Bureau or VRMA, you're a VRMA member as an example, or another association, all of those things lend to your credibility as a company, and you want to make sure that that's in your messaging. Probably the most important thing, though, is your USP, your unique selling point or proposition. Are you the luxury leader? Are you the low price leader? Are you the biggest? Are you the smallest? What is the thing that you are different than all of the other managers in the market, and you're kind of putting your stake in the ground on? And so putting that messaging together is key. Make it easy to contact you. Make it very simple. Display your phone number, display your email address, and then when they call, make sure that that particular number is routed properly. It doesn't just come into a main line, but it goes directly to the person that's going to be handling this. And this is a sales effort. So many companies, it's not even recognized as that. So you have a reservations agent, and maybe if you have a real estate arm, you have real estate agents, but very few companies have what we call at All-Star business development consultants. And we really are looking for someone that is going to be there to full-time grow the inventory. Now, not every company can afford to do that out of the gates, but there needs to be somebody that's dedicated to this, and so this is who they would be contacting. I want to make it real easy. You have to work the leads. So going back to this, how will the inquiries be routed as it pertains to emails? We have a specific email address that we send this to, and they're routed to the people that would take care of business development as well as telephone calls, so making sure that they can get you quickly and easily. How will potential owners be introduced to your company? Thinking about exactly how that's going to be introduced. In our case, there's a presentation that's given. We do a presentation and a tour. If they're physically here, we start with a short PowerPoint presentation, and then we give a tour of the facilities. Our facilities tour really lends credence to the company's abilities. Not everybody has a great facility to show off. I know some people work in various different ways and have disparate operations. If you have it, great, show it. If you don't. A PowerPoint presentation is a really great tool to kind of take them through. Don't make it an hour long. Make it short and sweet and get to the point. Really representing the company well by taking them through the different components that you do. Don't assume that somebody coming in the door knows about you or knows anything about your capability. So having that presentation is key in doing it well. Once you have a lead, how are the homes going to be assessed? In our case, we have an interior design company that we own that does the assessments, but somebody within the organization needs to go out to the property, assess the property, make sure it's in obviously the right location, the right condition. If it's not in good condition, what does it need? If it needs furnishings upgrades, electronics, housewares, all of those different decor pieces, all of that needs to be considered and assessed before a property is brought on. The best time to get an owner to do something is at the beginning of the relationship. It's more challenging later on. Whenever an owner, if you tell an owner they need to fix something and they say, you know what, let me get some rentals and then we'll do that, it's rarely that occurs, as many of you know. So it's really key to do that at the beginning. Who follows up with that? So again, going back to that dedicated person, within the company, and this may be a part of what they do in your organization. It may not be, maybe you, but who's going to follow up and making sure that those leads are turned into contracts? So listen. A lot of times we tend to want to tell everybody all about us, and then we don't listen to exactly what their needs are. If this is somebody that's with an existing management company or they're doing it on their own, you need to listen to their pain points and try and solve them for them. Be very flexible and available for meetings and calls. A lot of times, just like our guests, they're here on vacation, the owners are. It's a very short period of time, and we've got to be flexible to be able to meet them. Use lead management tools and make notes. So going back to the CRM piece and really making notes, because a lot of times this is it's a protracted sale. The first time they come in is probably not when they're going to sign the contract. We've had situations where somebody contacted us and they didn't sign a contract until 1.5 years or 2 years later. So that's not ideal, but you're creating a relationship with them and maybe not hard selling them. And then when their time to make a change from another management company or quit doing it themselves comes, they're going to think of you. And so following up is key. Set the expectation for both parties. Obviously let them know what you're going to do, and this is all going to be contractual, but make sure that they know what you're going to expect of them. Make it easy to say yes. We went to DocuSign on our contracts several years ago now. I sign every one of the management agreements on my cell phone. It's super easy for both me and for the owner to sign the documents, and we send those out as soon as they're prepared and ready and get that signed. So rarely, I can't even think of the last time where someone signed the management agreement while they were here at the office. It's almost always a DocuSign that's sent out, and that work is very effective. So ensure an easy transition as the property comes on. Have a clear process for your team. Have an onboarding process. It's something that we continue to develop. We have a big checklist of all the things that have to happen as a new property comes on. You don't want to miss anything. Have that dedicated team representative there to onboard the properties. Again, it may be a full-time role, or it may just be something that somebody does within the organization, but having somebody who that is their focus, they're the caretaker of that property coming on, so that all of those check boxes are checked and you've covered all the bases, because there's a lot of things that have to happen, as you know. Ongoing communication to the owner throughout the onboarding process. Once the owner signs, if it goes dark, they get concerned. So making sure you're communicating with them through the process of where the steps are till the property's online, for example. A lot of times we like to let the owner know when they get their first booking. All of those different things that help the owner continue to feel good about the company as they go through the process. Okay, so goal achieved. You've added a bunch of great inventory, exactly what you were looking for. Now what? We use the bucket here with the holes in it because, as you know, you can fill a bucket, but if you got a leak, you may lose them out the other side. And the last thing you want to do is do all the work of bringing on a new property and then lose them, just like you don't like to lose rental customers. So the three keys to retention, in my opinion, are operations, communication, and performance. Operations comes down to really the property side of things, really maintaining the property at a high level. From a maintenance perspective, one of the biggest ways to lose owners on the operations side is bad housekeeping. So when the owner comes in, if it's not perfect, as you know, there's a good chance they're going to be really upset. So just like with guests, great operations is great retention. Communication I mentioned earlier, I can't say this enough. Having a communication plan, making sure that you're regularly communicating with the owner is key. Owner correspondence via a monthly or quarterly newsletter is really great. Surveying the owners from time to time, either once a year or biannually, is a really good way to know where you stand. So taking the time to do that is key. It's not hard to develop a survey within SurveyMonkey and send it out. You can do it really quickly, and it gives you great feedback on who might need some extra communication. Performance really comes down to driving revenue. If you're not performing, then you're probably going to lose the owner. Tracking that performance is key, and making sure that you're doing a good job year over year. So one of the things, just kind of as a bonus tip that we've done, and a lot of what I shared today that we learned through others, and what we instituted years and years ago is we started inviting companies to come tour our facilities and learn more about us and our company. And when we sit down, we call it cross-consulting. I'm sure we're sharing about us, but we're learning about them, and a lot of times we'll trade out vacation rental properties so somebody can come from another area. There's rarely a week that goes by that we don't have one or many companies from somewhere in the country visiting our company. And we give them, again, an office tour, we tour some homes, and then we just sit down and discuss different ways that we operate, and we learn. I learn a lot going to VRMA events and other association events. I learn more when I sit down directly with another company. Another thing that we do is we go out and visit other companies and other destinations doing the same thing. And so I encourage you to do this. We have a great thing with LiveRez. We have 800 partners now that we can do this with. One of the things that I'm going to do with my role within LiveRez is to encourage this more and even set up a facility for us to be able to do this at a higher level. So I'm excited about that. I would invite you to reach out to us if you ever come down to Orlando. We'd love to have any of you tour our facilities and sit down with you and talk about this more in more detail and help each other. This is a industry where we're at the very beginning of learning about just how to do this. Even though many of us have been doing this for a long, long time, there's so much more to learn and so much more to get better at. And iron sharpens iron. So definitely would invite you to do that, and invite yourself to others. Say, hey, I'd like to come. I'm not a competitor in your market. I'd love to come visit you and learn more and tell you how we do things, and invite others to come and see you. So that's all I have for today, and we'll go into the Q&A session next. Here's some resources, and I know Tyler will send this presentation out to anybody who would like to have it. Here's my contact information. You can find me on LinkedIn. There's my email address and my direct line here at the office.
All right.
Over to you, Tyler.
Hey, Steve, thank you so much. This was absolutely informative. And I've learned a lot, and I'm sure that everyone who's joined us would agree that this has just been fantastic. I think everyone would agree that there's a lot of nuggets within this webinar that Steve has discussed, kind of those golden nuggets that you can take and go and implement. And we really are thankful for you. One of the things that we'd like to do now is in the bottom right of the screen, on the box in that panel, the GoToMeeting panel, feel free, there's a question box, and if you have any questions for Steve, feel free to add those right now, and then we can kind of vet through some of those. And I see a couple of those coming in, and we'll just kind of wait. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type those, and then we can kind of go from there. So we'll just pause for just one moment and let you type in any questions you have for either myself or Steve. Okay, so Joey asked a question, Steve, if we could have a copy of the presentation, and absolutely the answer to that is absolutely, we'd love to go ahead and give you a copy of that, and I will get those mailed off to you guys. I have a copy of this in a PDF, and we can email those to you. Steve, another question came from Monique, and she asked a question: how do you solve the garbage issue?
How do we solve the garbage issue? I'm assuming that is as it pertains to the, getting the guests to take in and out the garbage cans, which is a challenge for vacation rental managers everywhere. We solved it by just doing it. I know not everybody can do that from a cost structure perspective or logistical perspective. We found that to be, one of the things that if we don't do that well, we will have a bad name in the community and from an industry perspective. And again, we went all the way to putting our names on the trash cans, so we have to do it well. So our property care techs on each garbage day go out and they pull the trash out and they pull the trash in, and they know exactly when the trash trucks are going to come by, and they do it just prior, and they know when to put them back in. And I think it's important. It's a really critical thing to do well. We also have put plaques on the trash cans on the lid to let the guests know if there's not enough trash facilities there, meaning they run out of cans, to give us a call, and we will come in out and take away the excess because it's that important to our brand and to make sure that we do a good job there. So, and I know that answer does not always sit well with everyone in the sense that it is costly to do, but again, I think that's a significant. There's value there because people see us doing it. We're well known in the communities that we serve, that we do a good job in that regard.
Thank you, Steve. Steve, our next question comes from Linda Sylvester. She asked a question: how do you produce the postcards that are targeting one particular property?
So what we do is once we've put together the target list of the particular property, we go out and we shoot that property. So we're just shooting that exterior shot, trying to get the best possible exterior shot we can use. We use a local printer that has customized digital postcards. So you're doing a short run print job. There's a lot of different postcard companies on the web that do it very, very inexpensively. I think I can work with Tyler to get you an example of that as well. And it's a fairly simple process. We do the graphic design in-house. Obviously, you could outsource that if you so choose. We have an ad agency in-house, but a lot of times it's just producing a simple postcard with that picture on it that really catches the potential owner's attention.
Actually, and by the way, Steve, I don't know if you remember Greg Ross from San Diego. He actually just commented in that he also uses a company called Send Out Cards for one-off postcards also. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So
that's exactly that's an example of one of those, and it's a digital press. It's a digital short-run company that's online. So Send Out Cards, I think you said. That's a great tip. So.
Thanks, Greg, for that tip. That was very kind of you to share that. Okay, so we have another question. This actually comes from Tom Stone, and if I recall correctly, Tom is in North Georgia, and we're happy to see you, Tom, so thanks for joining us. He says, if you don't have a formal process for acquiring new properties, where would you start?
If you don't have a formal process for acquiring, I think, again, going back to the early slides and really deciding the type of product that you want first, then developing the target list is key, is really second. So you go, okay, this is what I want. This is where I want it. How am I going to develop the target list? I'm going to go out into the tax rolls and find every single owner of a second home in the area. So the primary residence is somewhere else, and I'm going to put that target list together. You might also go out on the listing sites and identify properties that way, and then put together that list. And that list is going to be direct mail first, so that's number one, and then you'll start developing this campaign around that. One of the things that I mentioned postcards, but there's all forms of direct mail. You may have a brochure that you have put together. We have done all the way to a handwritten letter, which can also be effective in the past. A very specific letter typed out from yourself to the owner. There's a number of different ways that you can send direct mail, obviously, and that's a key way. And then the other thing is looking at those other components, so making sure that your brand is out there, working with local realtors. But I think developing your target list is step one, really, before you can decide, how you're going to go to market and all those ways, making sure that you know exactly what it is you want to get. You want to start with the end in mind. Really, what's the end result going to look like? Well, I want this group of properties. And so developing that list is step one.
Another quick question that comes along with this, and this is back to your marketing question, Steve. There's a couple marketing questions, and one, John said, you say that 7 contacts are needed when marketing to owners. What mix of postcard, letter, phone call, brochure have you found effective? More than one type of a touch, or a mix of everything?
It really does. I mean, if you read the statistics, it's a mix. You can't always get that mix, right? For instance, the vehicles and all the different things that we talked about, billboards, etc., website, none of that may touch the owner. You may have the only thing that happens is they get direct mail because they may not see you until they come into the market. And so we do the 7 postcards in a row. It's only because that's been scientifically proven to be more effective and we found it to be effective. But to your point, it's all the different mix of things, the different touch points that really get it done. One of the things that we do on our rental marketing side is called remarketing or retargeting, and it's through Google AdWords that you can put a cookie on somebody's browser, and you guys have done it when you go to a website, and then you start seeing that website or that company everywhere you go on the web. Well, we do that with when you hit a property page, we do the same. We found that to be a very effective touch point for owners. A lot of times when an owner is considering you under management, they're looking at your properties, and so now they see you all over the web. So that could be one of those touch points as an example. So it isn't specifically direct mail that is the one. To your point, it definitely is a mix of all.
How often do you send those postcards out individually, Steve? Those between how distanced in time?
We do a couple times a month in the middle of a campaign. So if we're doing a group of 7, we'll do that over a few months period. And then we'll do a campaign. We'll take a break, and then we'll do a campaign again. And we generally put a few months in between, and we're targeting different areas as well. So we might be targeting a specific type of group of homes, if we, and then move on to a different area.
Sheila Hauser, hi Sheila, asks from Collins Vacation Rentals in St. George Island, Florida, excuse me. What do you suggest we put in our sales and marketing packet that a potential owner can take away with them?
That's a great question. It really comes down to a lot of the same things that you might put into the presentation itself. You want them to take away all of the hot buttons. So you want them to know that you're a great marketer, that you are great at customer service, that you're great at operations, all those different pieces. And so having a takeaway, whether it's a folder of information, a brochure, something like that they can take away that has all that information. Some people sit through a presentation and get very little out of it because they're big-time readers. They go home later with that information and they read every bit of it. So it's just you got to give it to them in a number of different ways, and that takeaway should basically mirror the presentation that you've given them in the office.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thanks, Steve. A couple more questions, and it looks like we haven't gotten too many more. If anyone has any last-minute questions, feel free to ask in the dialog box, the question and answer with Steve Trover from All Star Vacation Homes. Another question is, when it comes to these cards, the postcards, do you take a picture of each house you targeted and then create an individual postcard? And do you do one postcard for each individual home, or do you kind of send just a group, or how are you guys? What content's on that?
Yeah, on that particular campaign that I was talking about, we don't do this all the time, but this was a very, very effective campaign where we went out and we specifically took pictures of every house that we wanted to target. These were higher end homes, so they were high value targets, so it was worth doing. And we went out and we shot pictures of every specific property. Now, with that said, and by the way, we put those in a postcard. On the back of the postcard, we had created a landing page for each owner to go to, and it was customized to them. So it was a pretty intensive marketing effort that we did. You don't have to do that just doing the postcard with the picture of that person's house. That's going to get their attention in a big way. So that's definitely worth doing, especially if you have a high-value target. With all of that said, though, you can do more of a community-related one. So, for instance, if you're targeting a resort with a bunch of condos in it, you might specifically just shoot a picture of the resort area, obviously, and you don't necessarily have to have a specific condo in that case. This was more for a high-value single-family home target that we had done the specific ones, but you can do it both ways, and we've done both effectively.
Okay, a couple more. Sarah Bradford from Winter Park, Colorado. Hi, Sarah. How are you? Asked, can you tell us more about the detail of your onboard checklist, or is there any way to share or give any more information on that detail?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'd definitely be happy to share that with you. What we use for that is a software right now called Basecamp. This is another thing that we're going to start working on within LiveRez to develop an onboarding process for properties within LiveRez. But right now we're using Basecamp, which is essentially we're just using a checklist. It's digital that everyone can see and share. And so everyone that's involved in that onboarding process would see that. And I can certainly share our checklist with you that we use internally. But it just takes you through everything from photography and all the marketing components to getting a property online, all the things that you need to do from a taxation perspective, an accounting perspective, all the different components as it pertains to the physical house. So bringing the logoed trash cans out and putting the signage in the house that are in the book and all the different things that we have to do there, fire extinguishers. And then just making everything, make sure everything is done from a licensing perspective and so on. And so all those pieces are in our onboarding process. Everybody's going to have a little bit different one because they're obviously going to have some localized things that they have to do that are different. But ours could be used as a template.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, this is actually, I really like this question. This came from Allie, and she said, what are some of the ways to handle demanding homeowners to make them understand that this is a rental home and things do wear down, and over time, things do need replaced?
You know, it's just a real direct conversation. It happened. The best time for that to happen is obviously at the beginning, like I said earlier, just having that conversation early on, right when they're excited about coming on to your program, and making sure that they know not only do you need to do these things to bring it up to the standard to come on, there's going to be some things that we're going to come back to you down the road, like things like you need a new sofa or carpet and so on, and making sure that you communicate those things. One of the best, most effective ways is sharing guest feedback. You know, when they hear it from you, it's one thing. When they see it in writing from a guest, it's a whole nother. When you can show them that the guests are complaining about any one thing, and obviously you never want that to get to that point, but when it does, it's a highly effective tool to motivate owners to do that. So that's definitely probably the best way, other than just having that regular and direct conversation. We do assess the properties on a regular basis, so we're going out and assessing all of the inventory already in the program and saying to the owners in a very formatted manner, these are the things that need your attention, and going ahead and getting the quotes. A lot of times owners will make the decision quicker if you're proactive and go out and get them quotes for placement of items or whatever needs to be done, and present that in a way that they make a quick decision.
All right, Steve. I think I think, yeah, I think that was a great answer. And I think that kind of wraps it up today. I think we've got some people, I think most of the questions have been answered. One thing to just reiterate, number one, is that we will also be putting this online on our website at liverez.com under materials. You'll be able to see you'll see a video of this, and you'll also be able to see the PDF, and the PowerPoint will be available. So I think what you would find is that we will continue to put the 2014 webinar series online. We will be preparing again for another webinar series in July, and so stand by and get excited for that. That's going to be another great one. And so once again, with everyone, if there's any other questions, if you want to know information about you know, retention and ways to garner owners, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Steve Trover. His contact information is here. Mine, you can dial me by hitting the 1-800 number. I'm here at LiveRez, and so we really appreciate each one of you joining with us. If you want information about liverez.com and the products that we offer and how we can help you be an industry leader in your area, please feel free to contact us. And I sure look forward to working with each one of you. So the number's on our screen if you need to contact LiveRez. Steve Trover's information is below. And once again, I'd like to just say on behalf of myself, on behalf of LiveRez, on behalf of everyone that's joined us today, to Steve, thank you very much for your time. We really are thankful to learn at your feet, and I'm grateful and gracious of you to do this for us. So thank you to everyone who's joined us today, and thank you very, very much, and we'll look forward to talking with you again in July.